All right, let's jump right into this explainer of The Midnight Visitor. It's an absolutely fascinating story, and today we're going to see exactly how a complete masterclass in psychological deception unfolds. I just love breaking down this narrative because it completely flips our expectations of what a high-stakes standoff is actually supposed to look like. We're going to explore how a seemingly, ordinary situation turns into this brilliant display of quick thinking. So let's just get right to it and meet our characters.
So, to start off, when you or I picture a secret agent, we almost instantly think of someone like James Bond, right? A spy who's tall, dark, and handsome. They're well-built, muscular, always surrounded by beautiful companions. Maybe they casually smoke a pipe or a cigar, and they are literally always ready to pull off some impossible, death-defying stunt. It's that classic Hollywood stereotype, and it's pretty much permanently burned into our brains.
But then we meet our actual hero, a secret agent named Azabal. And let me tell you, he completely shatters every single one of those myths. He is the exact opposite of the stereotype. The guy is fat, he's short, and even though he speaks French and German, he does it with this thick, lingering American accent that he just never quite lost. Visually, physically, he really doesn't fit the part of a super spy at all.
But here's the thing. What Azabal lacks in those flashy Hollywood action hero traits, he absolutely makes up for where it actually counts, which is his cognitive agility. So he might not be, leaping over buildings, but he is mentally quick, he's incredibly resourceful, and he can think and respond to sudden threats with just blistering speed. Basically, his mind is his real muscle.
Naturally, this physical appearance deeply disappoints his companion for the evening, Fowler. Now, Fowler is this young writer who tagged along hoping to document the thrilling, dangerous life of a spy so he could write a book about it. But instead, he feels completely let down. Azabal possesses absolutely no air of mystery around him whatsoever. To Fowler, Azabal is just an ordinary, slightly out-of-shape guy. Honestly, he's seriously doubting if he's even hanging out with a real detective.
Azabal, though, he's pretty sharp. He totally knows his guest is disappointed, so he promises that some real excitement is coming up soon. He leads Fowler up to a dark, gloomy hotel room all the way up on the 6th floor. And it's here, in this incredibly dull, unglamorous setting, that Azabal tells Fowler they're waiting to receive a highly anticipated, top-secret report about new missiles. We're talking about a document so important that people have literally risked their lives for it.
Well, that boring evening evaporates in an absolute instant. Azabal unlocks the door, they step inside, he flips on the light, and standing right there in the middle of the room is a man pointing a pistol straight at them. This intruder is another agent named Max, and he flat out declares he is there to forcefully steal that exact missile report. So just like that, the dull evening turns into a literal life-or-death situation.
Now notice the immediate difference in how these two handle the stress of this sudden standoff. The intruder, Max, who is thin and has these sharp, really cunning kind of fox-like features, is incredibly nervous. He's totally on edge. But Azabal? He's staring down the barrel of a loaded gun, and he is shockingly calm, completely composed, and just unbothered. He actually just greets Max by name, showing zero fear whatsoever.
In fact, instead of panicking, Azabal casually tells Fowler to sit down, noting that they have exactly 31 minutes until those highly dangerous documents are scheduled to arrive. And wow, suddenly a ticking clock is introduced to this already terrifying encounter. It adds immense tension to the room. Max is desperate, he's armed, and he is rapidly running out of time before someone else shows up.
And right here is where Azabal's absolute genius activates. He doesn't go for a hidden weapon. No, he goes for a story. He sits down heavily in an armchair and starts fabricating this highly detailed, super irritated complaint. He claims that his room's window connects to a neighboring balcony. He acts completely furious about it, claiming this is the second time someone has broken into his room through that specific balcony, and he passionately threatens to take the whole thing up with hotel management to get it fixed. It is a masterful, masterful performance of just pure annoyance.
And Max, he falls right into the trap. Wanting to prove his own cleverness, Max actually defends himself. He admits he used a passkey to get in and insists he had absolutely no idea a balcony even existed. Now this is crucial. By defending his method of entry, Max subconsciously anchors that fake balcony as a reality in his own mind. Through confirmation bias, Azabal has successfully implanted a fake escape route directly into his enemy's brain. Then, right in the middle of this incredibly tense standoff over the missile report, a loud, persistent knock hammers at the hotel room door. Max is instantly startled. He demands to know who's there. The writer, Fowler, is just absolutely terrified. And we really have to ask ourselves here, who in the world is actually on the other side of that door?
Azabal simply smiles this clever little smile.
Without missing a single beat, he calmly looks at Max and says, "It's the police." He explains that because the missile documents arriving tonight are just so crucial and dangerous, he took the liberty of requesting the police for extra security. Just to make sure everything goes smoothly.
Boom! Oswald just completely weaponized Max's panic. Desperate to avoid being caught by the cops with a gun in his hand, Max has to make a rapid, desperate plan. So he quickly backs away toward the window, making sure he keeps his gun pointed right at Oswald and Fowler. He angrily threatens to shoot them both if Oswald doesn't send the police away immediately. And his brilliant survival plan? Hide out on that very balcony Oswald was just complaining about.
The knocking gets louder and louder. A voice from the hallway calls out for Mr. Oswald. Max is now literally sitting on the windowsill, one leg out in the night air, still pointing his gun, absolutely desperate for Oswald to get rid of the cops. And then, the ultimate moment of truth. The doorknob slowly begins to turn.
Terrified of the door opening and the police rushing in, Max makes a split-second decision. He lets go of the window frame and drops into the darkness, fully expecting to land safely on that balcony. But instead, a horrific, piercing scream rings out into the night as he falls.
The door swings open, and it is not the police. Not at all. It's just the waiter. The waiter walks in carrying a tray, 1 bottle of drinks, and 2 glasses. This whole time, it was merely room service. Oswald had just calmly ordered drinks earlier in the evening. There was never a police raid to begin with.
A highly confused and frankly trembling Fowler asks Oswald about the police and more importantly about the guy with the gun waiting out on the balcony. Oswald just calmly reassures him he won't return. There was no balcony. Max had just blindly jumped out of a 6th-floor window to his death, entirely killed by a story Oswald made up right on the spot.
I mean, this is the absolute ultimate example of being outmaneuvered. Oswald didn't use some high-tech gadget, he didn't use martial arts, and he certainly didn't use a weapon. He used mental agility and environmental awareness to completely neutralize an armed threat. By understanding human psychology and perfectly timing his deception, he managed to save both his and Fowler's lives without lifting a single finger.
The big takeaway from this explainer is that knowledge, observation, and mental agility are far more potent weapons than physical force. Oswald proved that a sharp, composed mind will almost always defeat brute force or a lethal threat. He was really the truest form of a secret agent, relying entirely on his wits to get the job done.
So think about this for a second. Both a starry-eyed writer and a seasoned spy were completely deceived simply because they only trusted their eyes. One underestimated a hero, and the other visualized a fake balcony. So I'll leave you with this question. Are you still easily fooled by physical appearances? You might want to think twice the next time you underestimate someone who doesn't quite fit the stereotype. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning what you see.